Hey, how you doing? This is John's Longbox. This is Theology, and with Cooper, Telepathic Bunny. How you doing?
I'm fine, man. Let's do this.
Yeah, for those of you who are new, I'm a comic book guy. One night, Cooper was on It's Clobbering Time, and I forget, somebody brought up Melchizedek, and I had no idea what they were talking about. And then Cooper wanted to respond, but he didn't want to take it away from the top. So I said, why don't you come back on and we'll talk about this. And it was fun and it was interesting. And we had a lot of good comments and everything. So I said, let's make this a semi-regular. So whenever Cooper or myself comes up with a topic, we'll do one of these. And then with my crazy work schedule, and then Cooper has a crazy work schedule, we never know. So that's what streaming is. You can watch it later. So leave comments. And if you have any ideas about that are in line for this show, drop them in. It's a lot of fun to discuss this stuff. So you know what's funny, Cooper, is just last night my wife came downstairs and was like, do you know who Melchizedek is? I was like, yes, I do. Because she did a Bible study and she goes, I read the name before and I never really thought about it. So we had a big talk. I referred to my video, so whether she watches it or not, I don't know.
Well, that's the idea, right?
Yeah, that's the idea. It's there for everybody on YouTube. Hey, Zach Tan is here. We get our blessing. Great. Thank you, Zach Tan. So today's topic is Jesus the Exorcist. And I was driving to work and I heard something on a radio, and it was a Jewish, Christian, and a Muslim panel talking. And they were talking about their prospective prophets. And the Jewish guy said, even if Jesus was not the prophet or whatever, he goes, he would still be highly regarded in Jewish lore as a great exorcist. And I never thought of that before. I hear all the stories and everything like that, but what The Exorcist to me is the Blatty movie, and pea soup and head spinning around. But Jesus was an exorcist too, And
I think you have to also Jesus was a different animal from what you would call an exorcist, I think.
Right. Yeah, I'm just thinking from this Jewish guy's perspective, who he has a different perspective than Christians.
Yeah. Well, like it's do an exorcism. They are operating in his name, and so the level of authority is definitely different there.
Like when a little kid says, I'm going to get my daddy, they use, and now when Jesus do it, he is the daddy. Yeah. you don't have to get nobody. You don't have to get daddy.
Well, Satan himself has only talked to 3 different entities in the Bible. Adam and Eve. He talked to God himself in Job, and he talked to Jesus when he tempted him after 30 days of fasting. In the wilderness. So I mean, you got exorcism, and then you got what Jesus was. So I get the Jewish who don't consider him the Messiah would respect him metaphysically as being a very powerful prophet. So, of course, a lot of them wouldn't even acknowledge that, but
Right. Yeah. Well, I guess this was let's be nice panel that I was listening to. Let's be nice panel. Zach, this is a good summary of what I think Cooper was saying exactly. Regular exorcists rely on delegated authority, while Jesus has the inherent. Yeah, Jesus is the one who delegates. Yeah. Okay. So
he did. He tell his disciples that this one only comes out with prayer and fasting. But he was talking about in their authority. He would only come out with prayer and fasting.
Right. Of course.
So
I think I'm a couple of years older than you, Cooper, but maybe you remember this. In the 70s, when the movie The Exorcist came out, exorcism was the rage. It was a hot topic. You had like Phil Donahue shows and stuff like that talking about exorcism, and the average American, I maybe just Christians. I don't know. I'm thinking back when I was like 9-10 years old, but everybody was talking about exorcisms, and it was a cult. And then I remember, which Pope was a Pope? John Paul or the one after him? But before they were popes, they were one of the chief exorcists in the Roman Catholic Church, and I was like, they do that? Like I you know what I mean? Like it's scary to think of, and of course, I think human beings are attracted to what makes them scared. Is that a control thing or is that a fascination?
I think that was Benedict. I think that was Benedict.
Yeah, it's Benedict.
Think about it.
Yeah, it was Benedict. That was an exorcist before him. So I think I wrote down a list of all the times, and let me know if I missed any. But as far as I know, Jesus did exorcisms 6 specific times, and then a couple other times it was kind of like a mass exorcism. I don't know. But the first one was the man with the unclean spirit in the synagogue at Capernaum, Mark 1:23. And Jesus basically said, "Be gone," and I noticed a pattern is they recognize him as he's coming. Like it's almost like the demons like got one foot out the door beforehand. Like, okay, all right, this was good while it lasted. I'm gonna get while we get. My favorite, if having a favorite demon story is the appropriate word, but the one that I'm most fascinated with, and I'll come back to this later, is the Gethsemane demoniac, they call it, the I Am Legion demon. That one. It just, I mean, as a comic book guy and everything like that, how can you not be fascinated? This is the one where there is a poor guy who lived in the tombs, and which is scary enough because if you knew about the Hebrew Jewish Israelite life, that means he was unclean. He was. I think you had to be ritually cleaned when you're dealing with graveyards and stuff in Jewish theology. So it's like a Muslim living amongst pork. So he was already, even if he didn't have a demon, he's an outcast. And then the locals tried to chain him and tie him up, and he was superhumanly strong and broke the chains. And then when Jesus shows up, it immediately starts negotiating. Starts, and then Jesus says, "What is your name?" And it says, "We are Legion," which is really scary, scary. And then it begs, "Don't destroy us, don't kill us. Let us go someplace else." And then Jesus sends it into the pigs, and then the pigs in madness or whatever go into the Dead Sea River. I'm not exactly sure where. And
they went off a cliff into some body of water.
Right. Off a cliff.
I think it was the Sea of Galilee. I'm pretty sure.
Sea of Galilee probably makes the most sense.
Yeah.
Is the mute and possibly blind? They might be the same one in Matthew. Another mute and blind one. Oh, that's the same one twice. I wrote it down. I can't pronounce this, but the Syrophoenician Canaanite woman's daughter, when Jesus cast her out, he didn't even go. He was on his way someplace else, and she's cured. Go home. I got this.
Syrophoenician. Yeah.
I forgive me. I'm sure people can sympathize pronouncing some of these names.
I've been pronouncing this stuff since I was a kid.
Okay, so. There you go. You can correct me. The boy with the spirit causing seizures and convulsions. And those, did I miss any? Those are the only ones that I found. Oh, and Mary Magdalene with the 7 demons.
Yeah.
So
I think that's all of them. He did say, "Get thee behind me, Satan," to Satan himself, so that would be
That's
considered an exorcism.
but was Satan
And
Satan
Satan
possessing
departed from
anybody?
him.
Was Satan possessing anybody? Like, I guess an exorcism could be just getting rid of the demon.
Exorcism is
yeah, you're right.
yeah, it's so
Yeah,
it's basically him. Yeah, right.
yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm thinking again. My whole idea of this is formed by the movie. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Right.
Hey, which was cool. Good. Thanks for checking us out.
Mm-hmm.
One mystery is whether the demons that made the pigs go into the sea, or if the pigs got spooked and would rather die. Oh, another thing to think about. So, you know, I've been talking.
The demons said that they didn't want him to destroy them, but then he sent them into the pigs, and the pigs destroyed themselves.
Right.
So, i.e., he did not directly destroy them like they were requested, but they wound up being destroyed either way.
But of course, I can't help but think of this: if there were spirits, were they destroyed or their host destroyed? You know,
no, the spiritual entities are immortal.
Right. That's what I'm thinking. Like they would just like in a D&D term, they would just exercise back into the the unclean plane or whatever they're from.
Right.
I can't help but put everything into role playing terms. Yeah. Or Tolkien, they went back to Valinor. Not that demons would go to Valinor, but you get the point. Yeah.
Well, it does say that whatever Jesus were bound on earth would be bound in heaven. So basically, if you bind one on earth, then they are bound in the afterlife also.
Okay.
So.
Oh, this is interesting because I, of course, I've heard the story of Judas my whole life, but it wasn't until maybe like 6 or 7 months ago I was talking with Brian Bow about this. I think it was after the video that we did was Judas irredeemable. Was Judas possessed by Satan? Would you say? Because influenced and possessed to me are different things.
Yeah. No, Peter was never possessed, but Judas definitely was possessed. It said that Satan entered into Judas at that point. So,
and that started the whole thing. That if you're possessed, do you have free will? And if you don't have free will, that's where I say, was Judas.
It's pretty clear that there is a invitation that it occurs. Now, there is like the children. Like with the demoniac child, they said this has been happening to him since he was a kid, or since he was a child. And so it's like how much free will is involved in a possession. But yeah, so I mean, there's like been there's books and books and books written on this. There's seminars that you can watch and things like that. But actual exorcist, I've seen. They don't like to talk about it, mainly because they don't want to glamorize it. But there are. Oh, did I freeze up? Are you kidding me? Did I freeze? Damn it. Is it me or you? Okay, hold on. Oh, okay. I guess it was John that froze. Okay, John froze. Okay, I thought it was me. Well, when John gets back, but there's like when you there's exorcists that basically when they don't like to talk about it, they don't like to advertise, they don't like to like make it glamorous, because it's really, really not a glamorous thing. Hollywood's kind of like build it up as something that it's not.
Sorry, I think my computer needs an exorcist.
Okay, gotcha. Well, I was just saying that the Exorcist, they basically they don't like to advertise it, they don't like to glamorize it, and it really is a lot more down and dirty than they want people to like know. And it's really kind of a grueling thing. It's really but I've seen like testimonials about it. But when Jesus, did an exorcism, it wasn't that dramatic, because he would just basically say,
Yeah,
and they would go.
Yeah.
So there was
like especially the daughter. He just did it on his way to someplace else. He said she's fine now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the one, I think the one you're talking about, yeah, there you go. But I think the one you're talking about, she started like crying out and saying, this is Jesus, this is the Son of God, or whatever, like declaring him. And then Jesus was said, even the demons know who I am, and so he when it came to exorcisms, Jesus's exorcisms were not sexy. They weren't like Hollywood ready.
Right. Yeah.
They were essentially like daddy's home, get out.
Yeah, there wasn't much of a battle. There was no special effects. There was no drama. It was just get going. A little bit of pleading, and they left. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there was like it was such a non-factor for him. The one in Mark, the demoniac child. Basically, when he comes down, and the disciples have been trying to cast the demons out of this child. And the Pharisees were kind of ragging him, sitting there like, oh, maybe you need to shout louder, and they're kind of like making fun of him. And Jesus comes down, and it's one of the few times in Scripture Jesus shows like genuine frustration. You generation of vipers, how much longer must I be among you? It's just, it's kind of like, yeah, you people drive me crazy.
He gets more frustrated at the humans than the demons.
Yeah. Because when he basically asked the Father, what do you want me to do for you? Like his child's like foaming on the ground, and it's obvious. It should be obvious, but he's asking that guy. Yeah, there you go. But he's asking the guy, the dad. He's like, what do you want me to do for you? And he's like, that's when he said, Lord, I believe, help my unbelief. I've been to everybody, and I only have like this little bit of faith left. But if you please help my child, even though I don't have a lot of faith, in, please help my child. And Jesus was basically, the helping of the child wasn't the thing. He was more concerned with the man, the man's faith, than he was the child, because it's like as soon as she showed up, the demon being gone is a foregone conclusion. And right. So it was almost casual. He's just kind of like oh yeah, cast him out. But it's like the man's faith was more of a issue for him than the demon was. And so most of his exorcisms were anticlimactic.
Yeah. I know you watched the show The Chosen. I watched the show The Chosen with my wife, and I noticed that they the only real like demon thing was they kind of in the introduction of Mary Magdalene, and they made it really anticlimactic.
Yeah.
And I was disappointed. And then I thought about it. I said, it's probably how it would have been. He just basically opens the door and they have Mary Magdalene like hiding, making a face. But I understand the show doesn't want to go for all the
well,
sexy monster, kind of stuff. They want to make it more relatable and realistic. So I like a lot of stuff that I was looking forward to. I didn't see in that show, but that's the choice of the show. But I wanted to bring this up because back in my 20s when I was the asshole militant atheist, I remember arguing with people about this, and I was arguing with another atheist, believe it or not, and he was saying that these weren't demons. They just didn't understand this was mental illness. And like the boy with the spirit causing seizures and everything like that. To me, I even though I'm not that militant atheist anymore, I could see that one being like, okay, this kid had either an organic or mental condition that caused it. I said, but the bottom line is, okay, even if you take that stance, he still helped them. Like I remember one of my friends was just like, yeah, Jesus put the mud in the guy's eye. What did he do? He cleaned crust out of the guy's eye. And I'm like, okay, so he still helped him when nobody else did. Still restored his sight, whether it's miraculous God power or if it's just like a little bit of basic teaching the guy of human hygiene. 6 of one and 1/2 dozen of the other. Is the guy helping somebody in the street less of a good person because he didn't use lightning and thunder and fire? And so that was one of my first internet wins back when those things mattered. But what do you think about that? Like, is this?
Well, I mean, okay. I've been around mental illness, and to the amount of mental illness to the extent that somebody is institutionalized, which is a lot of these would have been on that level. And there's been I basically live in my hometown has a mental hospital, one of the only 2 in the state. And so this is something I'm very well versed in. And people's mental conditions do not reverse themselves instantaneously. They don't go from cutting themselves, living in a graveyard, unable to be contained. And the thing about that physical strength thing, the only thing that really governs how strong you are is basically your mental, what your brain tells you can do. Because I have seen little kids who had mental illness rip stuff off the wall that grown men would have trouble with. And so, if you don't have that part of your brain that says, okay, that's not possible, you can't do that, then and it's been proven that people that have been able to push beyond the limitations.
You have the stories of the little, mothers lifting a car to get their kid out and things like that.
Yeah. But the thing that adrenaline can overcome that. And it's we don't really know what we're truly capable of. We really don't. But the thing that I have to point out to you and your atheist buddies, and is that mental illness does not just instantaneously reverse itself. I mean, you can have moments of clarity. You can have the drug-induced. And even if something's drug-induced, they have to take that drug the rest of their life, and they're dependent on it. And it makes them zombies. It changes them. It basically suppresses them as human beings. My best friend that just passed, his brother had schizophrenia. And they had him, the drug he was on that allowed him to function also made him suppressed his personality to the point where he was almost a ghost of a human being.
That's the whole point of the novel, The Clockwork Orange, is that they give him a drug that forces him to be good, but he has no free will. And the priest they didn't really make a point in the movie, but in the book, the priest says he's no better than just a Clockwork Orange. Wind him up and he's alive.
Yeah.
The whole point of life is free choice. We want him to choose the right thing, not to be unable to choose the wrong thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But when it comes to these reversals, these people were functional afterwards. As a matter of fact, the guy who he cast the demons out of, the demoniac, he was like, people were shocked to find him at home in his right mind, cleaned up and functional with his family when they came to investigate.
Yeah, he was.
Because
to me, that was the worst
people
of the demons, right?
Whose pigs destroyed themselves complained to the authorities. They had basically just roped him off.
Yeah, they chained him up, roped him off.
What's that?
And
Okay.
I love that, supernaturally breaking their chains. It really is, to me, that's the flashiest.
Yeah.
If you're gonna show one demon story from Jesus, that's the one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Mary Magdalene story, I guess you have to show because she's a main character in the story.
They did do the demoniac in The Chosen.
Oh, they did.
Yeah.
Okay, I gotta go back.
Yeah, they did.
Jesus is a direct descendant of King Solomon, right?
Yeah, he's from the lineage of David.
Right. I doubted myself for a second. I didn't want to respond. So glad.
Both through Mary and through Joseph. He's both of them were from the lineage of David.
So I want to. So let me. Again, I'm just being the advocate here, asking questions. Mm-hmm. That's the whole point of this. And feel free to ask questions in the chat too. This is so cliche to say, but it's a judge-free joke. It's about getting information and insight rather than, whatever, yell at people for the wrong beliefs. But is it metaphors? Like, was Mary Magdalene just like a woman lost her way, and seven demons is just an expression? And then she saw Jesus and converted and repented. You know what I mean? Literally no demons, just metaphorical demons. Like, alcoholics say that the demon in the bottle, it's not really a demon, although we do call it spirits, so you never know. But you get what I'm saying? What do you think about that?
People don't spontaneously reverse course. They just don't. There has to be,
but I could see, like, this is my own little personal story. That's not demon or anything like that. But my father was a smoker, and I remember him sitting at the dinner table, and I always wanted to sit next to my dad. But every time he took out a cigarette, I was like, oh God. So one day I remember was sitting in the dining room, and I said, Dad, do you like smoking? I was like 9. Mm-hmm. And he said, no. I said, so why do you smoke? And he said, good question. And he put out the cigarette, and that was it. That's not a demon, but
no,
you know what I mean? But like it was, and then my mom tried to quit smoking for 15, 20 years. She couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I have a brother-in-law that just can't stop drinking. It's like that Nicolas Cage movie. He can't stop. My sister had to kick him out. Enough's enough. We can't do anything. I got 5 daughters. It's a really sad story, but he was an asshole from the beginning. So what did he expect? But like, he just, yes, I understand. But there are cases of people just, a moment of shame or a moment of insight. So like, you think Mary Magdalene seeing Jesus of all people, if she, I don't know, this is controversial now the modern studies that she wasn't the prostitute, that was somebody else. And then, you know what I mean? There was I don't know enough about it.
Some people believe that there are multiple Marys.
Right.
Mary was a pretty common name.
Right. Like, because the way the Bible's written, it says, a prostitute. And then there's another sentence that may be him talking about somebody else. But whatever the point, you don't think she could just like an epiphany and change? And you know what I mean? Like, was it literally demons were cast out, or was it a moment of shame and like, this is it, I've hit rock bottom, I'm gonna make my life better?
Shame is not a motivator for change. Shame basically causes a continuation of the spiral. What changes people? You have to have shame, but then you have to have repentance,
Right.
and repentance means you turn from something and head in a different direction, and a lot of people have, like the 12-step program is basically it's a repentance checklist is what the 12 steps are, or it's basically a repentance checklist. um, and it's been very powerful for a lot of people, and it's been adapted for a lot of different things. But what we're talking about here is we're not talking about repentance and uh, somebody like being influenced by Jesus and repenting and going a different way. You have stuff like that to happen, like Zacchaeus, for instance. He repented and changed his ways.
Excuse me.
These when there's a possession and then alteration, and then these changes were dramatic. They went from not being functional humans
Right.
to being in their right mind and functional. And that doesn't happen without some sort of intervention, dramatic intervention, miraculous intervention. And so we're not talking about people who were even in their full faculties. We're talking about people who were being uh, driven to self-destruction, driven to aggression towards other people, and then instantaneously, after encountering this one man, they were completely changed fundamentally, and they went from unable to live in society to being able to have family, to being
Right.
able to hold down jobs, to being able to, be part of society again. And it happened just like that. And mental illness doesn't reverse itself. It doesn't spontaneously disappear unless,
Well, that's what
yeah,
I'm saying. Do you think again, devil's advocate over here? Do you think these people could have? It could have been like a moral deficiency, like the one I keep thinking of, like the one with the seizures. That's a physical thing, yeah. But like Mary Magdalene, could she just have been an expression? She was just like a morally deficient woman who was inspired, uh, and then, you know what I mean? Like, that's not mental illness. That's not schizophrenia. That's not an epileptic seizure. This is just, all right. I'm not going to be like this anymore, and now I'm going to be more righteous. You know, I do believe that some people can make a split decision in a moment. I remember one day I was just arguing with everybody on the internet, like around 2000. Yeah, this is not as dramatic, but it's the only thing I could bring up. And I just said, this is making me miserable. I'm going to stop. Cold turkey, and I changed. Became a happier person instantly after that.
mm-hmm.
Yep. Matt saying Bunny used to be on your channel. I hope he's doing well. Yeah, Bunny's doing well.
Still got my channel, Matt.
Yeah.
I never stopped.
And Matt, I got your email. Matt, just comic book related thing. I sent Matt a story. Matt and I are going to make a science fiction anthology. I'm so excited. Matt's super talented.
Oh yeah.
And Matt, come back on my channel as a guest. Come back on my channel as a guest. And I wish, and YouTube's driving me crazy because we always see the last names to the first names. So like, I only recognize people by their avatars now. But I don't know how to fix that, and everybody's doing it. So it's not me, it's not StreamYard, it's YouTube. But hello, everybody. Thank you for showing up. So I'm sorry, Cooper. Just got excited to see people, familiar faces.
No problem. I'm just saying that there's a level to people that are possessed. I mean, one of the things that the Exorcist will tell you is that there is a correlation between possession and mental illness.
Right.
And And so the first thing that they do is determine if demession means inhabiting, that there's another presence inside of someone that's operating and influencing them independently from the host. And that's what the determination is. Is this somebody being influenced from outside or causing a change in behavior? Or is this somebody that is inhabited? There's another presence inside of them that is pushing them. And
Right.
there is a
Through
very
a,
distinct difference there.
you have to
And
go through a battle test, just like the church does with miracles. They can't just, unfortunately, we can't just accept all claims. Otherwise, there's, everything is true, and we know that's not.
yeah.
Nobody would ever lie about a miracle, So everything has to be put to it. That to me is always fascinating. I know that maybe that'll be a topic one day. It's just like the whole battery of tests to see. They actually have like church investigators that their job is to debunk divine interaction. It's counterintuitive to the concept of the church, but that's a whole other topic. I'm sorry, I just got excited about something. That's the way I'm like a child, Cooper. I get excited about it.
Squirrel. Anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, another side is I remember
like
when
Shroud of Turin.
I'm sorry. That's a great topic
when
too.
I did my research into the Shroud of Turin.
Yeah, that is a fascinating topic. Another person. Yeah, my wife just messaged me. She must be watching at work. Yes, I'm like a child. I'll keep my thought to myself. But I remember like another personal anecdote was my mom got dementia before she died, and I'll never forget the look in her eyes one day. There was a person that she just never liked, and this person was very unlikable. So that's not the problem. But one day, I mentioned her name in passing because she was doing something. My mom. I'll never forget the look in her eyes and the contortions in her face. It was terrifying. And my wife was there, and I just said, if this was 1,000 years ago, or hell, if this was 100 years ago, people would have said my mom was possessed. So what do you think about? Do you think like a lot of possession is misdiagnosed? Like, do you think now that we know about schizophrenia and dementia and stuff like that, was there something special about ancient Israel where everybody was getting possessed? Is there the same amount of possession today? We just don't know about it. These are the things that I'm kind of fascinated about it. Is there something special about that part of the world?
Jesus was a magnet for supernatural. He was a magnet for the demonic. He was targeted. He was under nonstop pressure. All the years that he was on the earth, nonstop pressure to live a righteous life. And part of that was that supernatural forces sought him out. People were after him. The spiritual realm was after him, like nonstop. Especially the 3.5 years of his ministry. Once he started, it was game on. After his encounter with Satan. There you go.
Do you think it's like West? The young gunslingers were always after the fastest gun, to get a reputation, or were they assigned to do it? Because logically, you'd think if Jesus was over here, all the demons would go over there. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, I don't think that they like voluntarily went after him, but I think that they had an edict to go after him after, because he was basically God walking in flesh on the earth, and Satan had been trying to cast God down for time immemorial. That's the reason why he fell, was trying to cast God down. And so here was God in physical form, at least the Son of God, which predates his physical form. So this was an entity that Satan hated more than any entity in the universe. And he was in physical form. He was on the earth. And so Satan was doing his best to destroy whatever mission Jesus was on. And it's quite obvious that he didn't understand the significance of Jesus probably till after, or he would have left him alone. He wouldn't have killed him if he had known the effect of it. Michael Heiser and the Divine Council Worldview. Yes, I've read Michael's work. Michael has covered a lot of this. I don't agree with everything Michael said, but he did do a lot of research in this area. So, but at the same time, that the correlation between demonic possession or demonic oppression and mental illness has been pretty well documented in that, and the especially around the realm of exorcism, that there has been misdiagnosed people that they've tried to do exorcisms on in the past. The incident that the exorcism of Emily Rose was based on.
Yeah.
In Argentina. That girl actually died. But and there's debate that really gave the church a black eye. And they instituted a lot more parameters after that, to what they're allowed to do as exorcists. But at the same time, it's the spiritual realm is a real thing. And I've caught glimpses from time to time of influence of people being influenced around me. Very clearly influenced around me.
I think I dated a few girls that were demonic possessed.
It's very possible. Very possible. Women are more,
and some of them were redheads. So yeah.
Well, I mean, you see some of the liberal females, the way they act.
It's funny that that's a joke, but it's not a joke at the same time.
No.
These people shouting and their eyes are crazy. Like I could, it's like my rational. Yeah, exactly. My rational mind immediately thinks that these people are on like what are they called? SSRI.
Most of them are on SSRIs. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a term that I didn't know until just recently. So Occam's razor, the most logical answers, the most simplest answers, and then it's like maybe there are some of these, but to me, like the Gavin Newsoms are more likely to be demonic possessed than these people screaming in the streets. You know what I mean? Yeah. Whatever. I have no love of most politicians,
No, you might have a point with Gavin. You definitely have a point with Gavin.
If anybody's got a spirit inhabited in him, he's my most loathed politician. Him and Schwab, but Schwab's a politician. That guy's a full-on supervillain. But I have to leave in 10 minutes. I have to leave for work. So I wanted to talk about the I Am Legion.
Mm-hmm.
And part of me, just because I'm always wondering, I'm always trying to come at things from different angles. And I'm wondering, could this possibly be a metaphor that it didn't actually happen? And here's my rationale for that. Is, okay, so Israel is under Roman occupation. So Jesus shows up, and Israel did have this messianic tradition. There was something like, one of the things we kind of don't really know about, but there was 30 at least people who called themselves Messiah at the time. What was the Bar Kokhba and stuff, the Bar Kokhba rebellion, and then there was other people who and
Simon the sorcerer.
Oh, I didn't know about that one. I got to look that up. But so there was an expectation that a Messiah was going to come and literally overthrow Rome. That's one of the things I think Peter and Judas were struggling with, and Peter overcame his struggles, Judas did not. And
well, I mean, he didn't overcome his struggles. He just
yeah,
he lost faith because
yes,
of it. So.
succumb to him, or whatever word you want to use.
Yeah.
But so here's the story of this being unclean, not following Jewish laws, wallowing in it, and then stronger. The locals come and try to restrain him, try to kick him out, try to stop, and can't. And then the Messiah comes, finds out, what is your name? I'm Legion. That is a specific Roman name. Legion is 5,000 to 10,000 men, depending upon the time period, and then cast them into pigs, and then toss them into the sea. Do you think this could be a metaphor for what the expectations were of a Jewish Messiah at the time? Or is this literally a demon calling himself by a Roman name, or groups of demons calling themselves by a Roman name? I don't know. I'm not saying it is. I'm just thinking as a comic book writer and seeds for stories and stuff like that. Yeah, Simon the Sorcerer. I got to look this up. I got to look up. Simon Magus. Simon.
Yeah, Simon Magus. Yeah.
Yeah, the one who tried to buy Jesus' magic powers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a fascinating story. Yes, okay, I did know that one. All right. But what do you think? Am I crazy for thinking like this?
Well, I mean, if you're looking for alternative...
I'm not looking. It's just, it's...
Well, okay. The language there in the translation is there's a lot of root words that are used in the Greek language, and legion is one of them. It just means multiple or many. Right. And it does clarify. It says, I am legion, and it does say which means many. I am many, and so when it basically is just trying to say that there's a bunch of me in here, and I don't think it's just like right. I don't think it's talking about a unit of army measurement. I think it just means that there's a whole bunch of us in here.
Right. You always get me with that.
It might have been a threat.
It might have been a threat. Yeah. But whenever you say it's probably a translation thing, like now because you did that before, and I'm like, yeah, you're right. Find out the actual word. Is this right. Is the actual word many? Is the actual word, because to me, I was thrown off on it that it's a Roman word, but it was translated by Greeks.
What was the the Roman? What's the Roman language? Lingua franca,
yeah,
Latin,
right?
And so that was a Latin word for
right. Yes. Now you got me. I got to go and look and see if I can find out what the actual, whether it was Hebrew or Aramaic or whatever the actual word was. Yeah. Okay. You always get me with that. The actual translation.
Yeah.
And that's how I win constitutional arguments. Well, the founders, well-regulated militia meant something else back then.
Yeah. Well, you always look at things in context. There's a whole entire process that they use to interpret scripture. I can't remember the name of it. It starts with an E, but no, it's not an E. It starts with an H. It's called hermeneutics. Hermeneutics just basically means determining the context determines the meaning.
Right.
And so hermeneutics basically is you determine what the what the context is.
Right.
When this was written, who is it written by? Who is it written for? What was the purpose of it?
What did these words mean? Because words do change. Yeah.
They do.
Words change over decades, much less centuries and millennia.
Right. But yeah, Latin is like the root language for most of the Mediterranean languages, the Romance languages. Latin is usually the core for all of the Romance languages, and so when you see something that's been translated from the Latin, you have to go back to the root word. what it came from to get the determination. And most of the time, because Latin language is so multi-tiered and multi-level, you can have the same word in the same sentence in Latin, and because of the context, the word it's written in the phrase can have an entirely different meaning from the earlier word in the phrase. That's why translation just becomes mad libs sometimes. And that's why translations can be so varied, is because there's so much determining room. There's so much room to determine. But in that particular situation, I do think that they was referring to just the multitude. There's a crowd we're crowded in here.
Right.
There's a whole bunch of us in here.
Yeah, I'm thinking, and then you got me with the translation. Like, was it literally written? Like, if in Aramaic it is whatever Legionis or whatever how the Romans pronounced it, then yeah. But if it's just, we're going to use Legion because it's a commonly understood term at this point, you know.
Well, I mean, whoever was the eyewitness of this, you know, I can't remember which. I think it was Matthew that mentioned this demoniac. I think it was either Matthew. It might have been also in Luke, but
it's Matthew, Luke.
But basically,
it's in all of them.
It's written off of eyewitness accounts. Of the Gospels.
Yeah, it's odd because John doesn't have any exorcism accounts, but all of these are in the other three.
No,
at least that I found.
Well, John was written so long after the other ones. John was written after Revelations. John was like one of the last books written in the entire canon of Scripture. And John was basically this old man John, the last man standing,
right,
looking back upon everything that had already been written and writing a gospel to fill in the blanks. And
okay, I didn't think of it like that either. Why write this? It's already been written 3 times. I'm gonna tell. Okay, all right, that makes sense. So he wrote Revelation first, and then he wrote his gospel.
That's why John had a lot of. Go ahead.
I said that. So he wrote Revelations first, and then he was just like, "All right, I'm gonna." They missed a detail here. I'm gonna write about this. Okay, I didn't know that either. That's interesting.
Well, John kind of had the church had already been established at that point. There was a lot of the church philosophy that's already established, and there was a lot of John was one of the last. He was the last disciple that was on the earth. He was the last to die. He died of natural causes, like Jesus, foresaw he would die. And he was asked over and over again, all these questions about the philosophy of Jesus. And so when John wrote John, he was basically he's like, okay, we wouldn't have John 3, which is the most important evangelical chapter out of the whole entire Bible, John 3. And we wouldn't have that if John hadn't said, okay, he told the story over and over again, and people were like, we don't want this lost to time. Could you please write this down? And so John goes back and he writes John to kind of like all the stuff that he didn't want lost to time that was in his head, that was in his memories. And so that's why John is such a different gospel from the rest of the other 3 are called synoptic gospels. They're more, and you can cross-reference the other 3, but John's unique. And in among the gospels, through the 4 gospels, John's like almost a different animal from the other 3.
Tony, as always, has interesting, fun questions. Who's the better exorcist, Jesus or King Solomon? I'm going to answer this one before Cooper. Jesus, because he truly exercised he got rid of them and he helped people. Whereas Solomon, I think I'm fascinated with Solomon. Is my favorite character in all of Jewish Bible, Muslim Bible, Christian Bible. I'm fascinated with King Solomon. But his problem was like the self-indulgence.
Yeah.
So he didn't. As far as I know, he exorcised one demon in a boy. Really gruesome story that this demon would come and suck the soul out of the boy's thumb at night. Whether it's a metaphor or what, you be your own judge. So Solomon exorcised that demon, and rather than get rid of the demon, disperse the demon, Solomon's like, how can I use this to my advantage?
Well, most of the lore around Solomon was written from Jewish people wanting to denigrate or downplay Jesus.
Okay.
And so a lot of that,
Solomon dwelt too much among the demons, and I think that was his downfall.
After Christ lived, and it was the emphasis on
like this, like he didn't. I think he truly wanted to help that one boy, and then used it to his advantage, and then started. I think started hanging out with these demons, like he was working with Asmodeus and all of these things to help him, depending upon which scripture you use. And I think he wasn't trying to help people; he was trying to like use them and manipulate them. So by the sheer fact of Jesus just purely exorcised people, Jesus all the way. Solomon trapped them and used them and whatever. I have no sympathy for the demons, but I'm just saying Solomon did it for his own glory.
Well, comparing Solomon to Jesus is like comparing a co-worker to the boss man.
Right. Yeah. And by the way, I would just like to say that Marcus is pooping during work. Thank you, Marcus, for sharing. I know he meant peeping and he mistyped, but still, I'm a child and I gotta giggle.
Yeah, there you go.
Popping in.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta watch that. You gotta watch the O's and the P's there.
Yeah.
Anyway,
this is
entirely different.
We use vowels not unlike ancient Hebrew.
Yeah. There you go. But anyway, so like I said, exorcists with Jesus were anticlimactic.
Right.
That basically what happened is somebody possessed came across Jesus's path. The demon immediately realized that's Jesus. Oh crap! And then Jesus is basically like, out, and the demon left.
Yeah, this isn't a baseball game. This is super pros showing up against the amateurs. It's not even a contest.
No, it's like several times where he actually seems annoyed that this demon's like operating in his space. It's almost like he's chiding them. Like a parent came home and the kids are messing around, and the parent's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" All the kids, oh crap, and he's just basically like, "Get out of them, get out." And boom, they come out. But then it's like the child in that particular one. When he came down and they're messing around, and these disciples, which he had empowered earlier to cast out demons, were trying to do it in their own strength without his authority, and the demons just laughing at him basically. And
I find that interesting. That's something that I forgot about, but Jesus basically gave him like a trial period. Go out and preach, like an apprenticeship, and then they went into that like you're gonna go out on your own, and they can cast out the. So I can't help but wonder, like Judas was going out and casting out demons. You know what I mean? And then came back. Yeah, like I don't know. Like I just think that's just. I don't know where I'm going with this, but I just find that interesting that at one point this guy was casting out demons, in Jesus' name. And you'd think, wow, this guy gave you the authority to cast out demons, and then betray him. I mean, we did a whole video about Judas, so I'm not going to go back to it, but, right. It is just interesting to think that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Judas was in the inner circle. I mean, he was in the... he was next to Jesus. He was in Jesus's presence, and yet yet he was the devil from the beginning, and Jesus knew he was the devil from the beginning. And so, yeah, it's pretty funny, Marcus. Yeah. So I know you gotta go, but
yeah, I could talk about this for another hour.
I know.
If we like last night, I was on for 3 hours with RJ. Like at midnight, I got more freedom to talk. But now I got to go get cleaned up, get ready for work. But this is interesting. And Cooper, you come up with topics too if you want. And chat if you have any. Put them in the comments. Don't put them in the chat because it's impossible to see the chat once this is done being live. So if anybody has any topics that you'd like to us to talk about, and this is an open invite. I keep inviting Luke Stone, but he's the busiest man in the planet. Between all the things that guy's doing. So it would be fun to have a bunch of people talk. That's what this is. It's discussion. We can agree, disagree. Just don't get mad at each other. Don't yell at it. You know what I mean? But it's fun, interesting stuff to talk about. But Cooper knows a lot of some of my comic book stories, that some biblically inspired stories. As I swallow a beard hair. but I got to get going. Anybody? Anything you want to say, Coop?
No. Y'all have a very good day. God bless.
Yep. And see you, everybody. Thanks a lot. And who knows when we'll do this again? It's in a regular show, but bye-bye. It's time to say bye, kids.